Chapter 11. Two friends. It was well beyond the lunch hour. Jose, the carpenter, was lying stretched out in the sun for a quick nap. All 6 foot 2 inches of him, on the long wooden table. His workstation. Jose was a big man. He had a large face, which was covered by a thick black beard. His round red nose twitched each time a fly sat on his pink cheeks or forehead. Under his nose was a bristly black moustache and a pair of rosy lips. They fluttered from beneath each time he snored. Now, a small bee was also sleeping in Joe's beard. The bee was snoring too. But no one can hear a bee snore, they are so tiny, can they? To Blip the bee, the sound of Joe's snoring was so soothing that it was almost like a mother's lullaby. But only in Joe's beard he felt so happy. Blip's true home was in a beehive in a tree close to the backyard of Joe's house. Then why did Blip sleep in Joe's beard? Well, friendships start in many ways, and this one started thus. One day, Blip was flying close to Joe's work table. Whenever Joe's lost his balance while working, 2 or 3 drops of his sweat rolled down to where Blip the bee was sitting. Now that seems a very little water, but for a bee, it can be too much. He struggled bravely trying to get out. But his wet wings clung together, and it became difficult to move. He was losing breath, and was growing weak. Suddenly, Jose noticed him. "Oh, you need help, little fellow," he said. Quickly, picking up a thin wooden shaving from the ground, he placed it under Blip and gently lifted him up. Then he put him on a log of wood some distance away. "There you are then," he said kindly. "Just dry up and you'll be fine." Jose went back to his work. Blip never forgot this. And now, at the end of each day, he would fly to the carpenter. Jose would still be working and Blip would just sit a few meters away from him. You see, Blip had come to love Jose. One day, Jose noticed his presence. "Aha, aren't you the same little fellow whom I helped a few days ago? I am glad to see you, son. It's quite lonesome here since my family went away on a holiday." Jose had a wife, a 15-year-old son and a 13-year-old daughter. Now Blip didn't understand what Jose said, but he could make out gentleness in his tone. So each day Blip came closer and closer, until one day he couldn't resist it anymore. Joe's wonderful thick bushy beard seemed so inviting in cold weather. So, he crawled inside. This tickled the big man initially, and at first he giggled. Then, he let out a loud guffaw and pulling out his pocket comb, he gently ran it through his beard. Blip came out a very guilty looking. "Oh, all right. If that please you, go ahead, but see that you don't sting me when I scratch my beard," Jose smiled. Blip nestled into his beard once again, and both of them went to sleep for the night. Blip's tiny body swaying to Joe's gentle snores. All day Blip flew from beehive to flower and back again, and again, till the sun began to go down in the sky. Did he ever get tired? From pollen the bees made delicious honey. But after all this work of theirs, men came all muffled up against bee stings to steal the honey, breaking their painfully built home, and killing the bees. But Big Jose never let anyone touch the tree with the hive in it. And for this the bees loved him. Oh yes, bees know their friends. Now, Jose was a very big man. He could have knocked down 10 men with one blow, if he had wanted. But Jose never wanted to hurt anyone, not even a fly. He was kind and gentle. In fact, for Blip, Jose had made a small hole in the front door of his house. Joe's work was beautiful. Everything he made sold out immediately, and he was paid very well. Jose was quite satisfied. But Joe's success attracted another type of attention. The attention of a gang of thieves, called the Headbusters. If there is the most feared gang in that part of the country, even the police became cold feet when give their name. Now, one of the Headbusters named Jamie came to spy on Jose one day. Why, he's a huge man, but meek as a baby. He even called me into his bunker, and made a cup of tea for me, the fool. And they all laughed. Jamie held up a thin finger for them to stop. Jamie was the meanest of them all. His big eyes were slits and his nose a hook. As he talked, his large earrings shook. He raised his arms and yelled, "Then, tomorrow afternoon we reach there. That fool carpenter will be no problem. Have you got the 4 carts repaired and ready?" One of them nodded. "Let those horses rest well, we have very far to go." Jamie smiled to himself, showing one gold tooth. Next day, Jose was at work. He worked for 4 hours. Then he stopped for lunch. He quickly washed his hands and drank some water. Then sitting on the couch and ate whatever he had prepared for himself that morning. Then he settled for a quick nap on the table. He was asleep within a wink and began to snore, softly and soothingly. Blip was working in a flower bed close by when he heard Joe's snore. He quickly flew to Joe's and gently crawled into his beard. Soon he was happily asleep too. And so, they were sleeping when the sound of carts and the grunt and cursing of men woke Blip. He peeped out of Joe's beard and saw at once that all was not right. These men disturbed him. But Joe slept on. He was tired. So Blip hopped onto his mustache and flapped his wings under his nose, tickling him. Blip then quickly flew off before Joe could slap him, thinking him to be a fly. Joe woke up to see so many men about. He smiled at them. When he saw the iron rods and knives, his smile vanished. Their appearance too was not reassuring, and they had such wicked-looking faces. Who could they be? Jamie came forward. He was a head and a half shorter than Joe's. "Sit down," he growled. "If you don't want to be hurt." And here he gave a cruel laugh, for the head-busters killed everyone they robbed. They never left a witness behind. Then turning to face his men he said harshly, "Load the carts." Joe said, "I've got nothing in the house. Only one refrigerator and one TV. No money either. Only my furniture." "Shut up, your furniture is what we want." Swiftly, his men moved to load the cart with Joe's precious work. Joe gasped in shock and rose in protest. Jamie took out his dagger. "You big, useless hulk, sit down," he roared. "And I won't say it again. Go into your bunker and get all the bread, cheese, dulse and atta you have. Make a bundle and keep it out here." Joe was shattered as he saw his precious furniture being taken away. He gave a big sigh, and then a sob burst from him. Blip flew around watching this. His beloved Joe was in pain. He hated this man who shouted so much. He flew swiftly and stung Jamie on his long hooked nose. "AOWWW," yelled the man, holding his nose and hopping on one leg. Then Blip called to his brothers, Come at once, Josie is in danger. Leave everything for a while and come." Now, the carts were fully loaded, for the thieves had far to go. They were in great hurry, and worked fast. Then seeing no danger, they all sat around laughing and having tea, which Joe had been forced to make. And what a noise they made! So they didn't hear anything. There was a low humming, which grew louder. Soon the sky was filled with hundreds of bees. When the thieves noticed the bees they jumped and screamed, "Run!" But it was too late. They were attacked from all sides. Cursing and screeching, the head-busters ran into the forest, dropping their iron rods and swords behind, leaving their loaded carts, furniture and horses too. The bees then flew back to finish their work before the sun went down. Joe raised his hand to thank them. He noticed Blip sitting on his arm. "Oh Blip, how I love you." And Blip flew off with joy in his heart. The sun was setting. Blip flew to Joe's house. The main door was closed because of the cold, but Blip crawled in through the hole. "Ah, there you are, Blip," Joe said happily. "You are my family, my third child."